Hello friends, welcome again to our YouTube channel Backbenchers, a path of learning. Hope you enjoyed our previous video. Thanks to all of you for being with us. Today, with this video, we will learn what is a contract, how to make a valid contract, and what are the essential elements of a valid contract. So let's start. Before we know about contract, we need to know what is an agreement. According to section 2E of Indian Contract Act 1872, every promises and every set of promises forming the considerations for each other is an agreement. In an agreement, there is a promise from both sides. For example, A promises to B to sell his laptop for 25,000 rupees and B accepts to purchase it for the said amount. Here A and B entered into an agreement. For the formation of an agreement, there must be two or more persons. There must be a proposal from one person and acceptance from the other person. The person making the proposal is called promisor and the person accepting the proposal is called promisee. Section 2B of the Indian Contract Act 1872 defines promise. According to Section 2B of Indian Contract Act, when the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto, the proposal is said to be accepted. A proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. Now, what is a valid agreement? According to Section 2G of the Indian Contract Act 1872, an agreement is not enforceable by law is said to be void. It's meant the agreement which is enforceable by law is said to be valid agreement. Section 24 to 31 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 makes a specific mention of governments which are void. We will discuss about valid agreement in details in another video. Now, what is a contract? According to Section 2H of the Indian Contract Act 1872, an agreement enforceable by law is a contract. All agreements are contract, but all contracts are not agreement, because all agreements are not enforceable by law and therefore all agreements are not contracts. For example, an agreement to sell a laptop may be a contract, but an agreement to go to see a movie may be a mere agreement not enforceable by law. All such agreements which satisfy the conditions mentioned in Section 10 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 are contracts. Now, essentials elements of a valid contract. According to Section 10 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, all agreements are contracts if they are made by the free consent of parties competent to contract for a lawful consideration and with a lawful object, and are not hereby expressly declared to be void. So, the essential elements of a valid contract are offer and acceptance, second, competent to contract, third, lawful considerations, fourth, lawful object, fifth, free consent, and sixth, not expressly declared void. The offer or proposal is defined under Section 2A of the Indian Contract Act 1872. According to this section, when one person signifies to another his willingness to do or to abstain from doing anything with a view to obtaining the assent of that other to such act or abstinence, he is said to make a proposal. The term proposal used in the Indian Contract Act is synonymous with the term offer used in English law. Say, for example, A offers to buy B's car for rupees 2 lakhs and B accepts such an offer. Now this has become a promise. Sometimes a person may not offer to sell his goods but make some statement or give some information with a view to inviting others to make offers on that basis. This is an invitation to treat. Section 2B of the Indian Contract Act 1872 provides that when an offer is accepted, then it becomes a promise. According to this section, when the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto, the proposal is said to be accepted. A proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. A proposal, when accepted, results in an agreement. It is only after the acceptance of the proposal that a contract between the two parties can arise. The person making the proposal does not become bound until its acceptance. When the proposal is accepted, that is known as promise, and now both of the parties are bound. It's mean the parties are not bound until the acceptance of the proposal, and when the proposal is accepted, then both of the parties are bound. Proposal and acceptance may be expressed or implied. When the proposal or acceptance is made in words, the promise is said to be expressed, and when the proposal or acceptance is made otherwise than in words, the promise is said to be implied. After the offer has been accepted, it becomes a promise, which, if other conditions of a valid contract are satisfied, binds both the parties to the promise. After acceptance, each party becomes legally bound by the promise made by him through the medium of offer and acceptance of it. Now, essentials of a valid acceptance. In order that acceptance of an offer can result in a contract, the acceptance must satisfy the following requirements. First, acceptance should be communicated by the offeree to the offerer. Second, acceptance should be absolute and unqualified. And third one is the acceptance should be made in some usual and reasonable manner, unless the proposal prescribes the manner of acceptance. And fourth, acceptance should be made while the offer is still subsisting. One of the essential of a valid contract mentioned in section 10 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 is that the parties to contract should be competent to make the contract. Section 11 of the Act declares that who are competent to contract. According to this section, every person is competent to contract who is of the age of majority according to the law to which he is subject, and who is of sound mind and is not disqualified from contracting by any law to which he is subject. Now, it's mean that the following three categories of persons are not competent to contract. First one is a person who has not attained the age of majority. It's mean a minor cannot make a contract. As noted, a minor is not competent to contract. One question which arises in case of an agreement by a minor is whether the agreement is void or voidable. The Indian Contract Act 1872 does not have any provision to answer this question. In the absence of any statutory provision, there had been controversy among high courts on this point. The controversy was set at rest by the decision of the Privy Council in Mohori Bibi vs Dharmodas Ghosh in 1903. It was held that the agreement by a minor was void. The second is a person who is of unsound mind. Under section 12 of the Indian Contract Act, a person said to be of unsound mind for the purpose of making contract if at the time when he makes it he is capable of understanding it and of forming a rational judgment as to its effect upon his interest. Now, a person who is usually of unsound mind but occasionally of sound mind may make a contract when he is of sound mind, and a person who is usually of sound mind but occasionally of unsound mind may not be make a contract when he is of unsound mind. And third one is a person who is disqualified from contracting by some law. Presence of consideration is one of the essentials of a valid contract. Section 2D of the Indian Contract Act 1872 defines consideration. According to Section 2D of the Indian Contract Act, when at the desire of the promisor and the promisee or any other persons has done or abstained from doing or does or abstains from doing or promises to do or to abstain from doing something, such act or abstains or promise is called a consideration for the promise. The definition requires the following essentials to be satisfied in order that there is a valid consideration. First is consideration to be given at the desire of the promisor, and second is consideration to be given by the promisee or any other person. That is, considerations may be past, present or future in so far as definition says that the promisee one has done or abstained from doing or does or abstains from doing, the promises to do or to abstain from doing something. Fourth one is there should be some act, abstains or promises by the promisee which constitutes consideration for the promise. One of the essentials of a valid contract is that the consideration and the object should be lawful. Section 23 mentions the circumstances when the consideration or object of an agreement is not lawful. In the following cases, the consideration or object has been considered to be unlawful by Section 23. First one is forbidden by law. Second is would defect the provisions of any law. Third is it is fraudulent. Fourth, it involves or implies injury to the person or property of another. The court regards it is immoral, and last is the court regards it is opposed to public policy. Free consent. One of the essential of a valid contract mentioned in Section 10 of the Indian Contract Act is that the parties should enter into the contract with their free consent. According to Section 14 of the Indian Contract Act, consent is said to be free when it is not caused by coercion as defined in Section 15, or to undue influence as defined in Section 16, or fraud as defined in Section 17, and of misrepresentation as defined in Section 18, or mistake subject to the provisions of Section 20, 21 and 22. Consent is said to be caused when it would not have been given but for the existence of such coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation or mistake. If the consent of one of the parties is not free, the contract is not a valid one. When consent to an agreement is caused by coercion, undue influence, fraud or misrepresentation, the agreement is contract voidable at the option of the party whose consent was so caused. According to Section 15, coercion is the committing or threatening to commit any act forbidden by the Indian Penal Code, or the unlawful detaining or threatening to detain any property to the prejudice of any person whatever with the intention of causing any person to enter into an agreement. Coercion is said to be there where the consent of a person has been caused either by committing or threatening to commit any act forbidden by the Indian Penal Code. It has been noted above that if a person commits or threatens to commit any act forbidden by the Indian Penal Code with a view to obtaining the consent of the other to an agreement, the consent in such a case is deemed to have been obtained by coercion. For example, A threatens to shoot B if B does not agree to sell his property to A at a stated price. this consent in this case has been obtained by coercion. In the case of Ranganayak Amma versus Alwar Setti, the question before the Madras High Court was regarding the validity of the adoption of a boy by a widow aged 13 years. On the death of her husband, the husband's dead body was not allowed to be removed from her house for cremation by the relatives of the adopted boy until she adopted the boy. It was held that the adoption was not binding on the widow as her consent had been obtained by coercion. Second is the unlawful detaining or threatening to detain any property. Such an act should be the prejudice of any person whatever. For example, a unlawful detains B's son C in order to courts B to enter into the agreement. The case would be covered within this section. Apart from that, it is also not necessary that the wrongful act causing coercion should proceed from the party to the contract. Now, undue influence. If the consent of a party of the contract has been obtained by undue influence, the consent is not the free consent which is needed for the validity of a contract. If the consent has been caused by undue influence, the contract is voidable at the option of the party whose consent has been so obtained. Section 16 of the Indian Contract Act defines undue influence. In order to constitute undue influence, it is necessary to prove that the relations subsisting between the parties are such that one of the parties is in a position to dominate the will of the other, and such a person uses his dominant position to obtain an unfair advantage over the other. Now, fraud. When the consent of a party to the contract has been obtained by fraud, the consent is not free consent which is necessary for the formation of a valid contract. In such a case, the contract is voidable at the option of the party whose consent has been obtained. Section 17 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 defines fraud. An innocent misstatement or false statement is known as misrepresentation. Section 18 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 defines misrepresentation. Misrepresentation means and includes 1. The positive assertion in a manner not warranted by the information of the person making it of that which is not true through he believes it to be true. Any breach of duty which without an intent to deceive gains an advantage to the person committing it or any one claiming under him by misleading another to his prejudice or to the prejudice of any one claiming under him. Causing, however, innocently a party to an agreement to make a mistake as to the substance of the thing which is the subject of the agreement. Mistake. When the consent of the parties to the contract is caused by mistake, it is not free consent which is needed for the validity of a contract. Mistake may work in two ways. One, mistake in the mind of the parties is such that there is no genuine agreement at all, and there may be a genuine agreement, but there may be a mistake as to a matter of fact relating to that agreement, not expressly declared void. An agreement must not be one of those which has been expressly declared to be void. For example, agreement without consideration as per section 25, agreement in restraint of marriage as per section 26, and agreement in restraint of trade as per section 27, and agreement in restraint judicial proceedings as per section 28, and an agreement by waiver. Contracts play a very important role in the day-to-day life of every person. Contracts or agreements between various parties are framed and validated by the Contract Act. So, for the formation of a contract, the given condition must be fulfilled by the parties. Yeah.